Is God really there? One of the most excruciating experiences of human existence is to have to face an overwhelming trial while having a strong feeling that God just isn't there for you in that dark hour. Have you ever felt this way? Have you ever had to walk through a valley of suffering, feeling alone with no signs of God anywhere? Do you know what it feels like to sense that God just doesn't care what you are experiencing and how you are suffering? Have you ever felt like God is there for everyone else except for you? God, if you were real, please show me. I was desperate and was in a very difficult situation. Hopeless. My life was in a mess and I thought of giving God a chance. That is, if God even existed. So I prayed and I waited and I looked for signs of God. There were no answers written on the sky, but slowly God brought people and circumstances and books to open my eyes. I grew up in the church, but I wanted nothing to do with this God that I heard about. But at the same time, my life had no joy, just bitterness and anger. I knew something was missing. So one night in the darkness, I cried out to Jesus. I wanted the issue settled. I wondered if God was even real. So I simply whispered, God, if you were real, please show me. My question was sincere and I waited for a response, some indication that I'd been heard. When nothing happened, I rolled over and fell asleep. My suspicions confirmed. When I woke up the next day, I wondered if I'd ever get an answer. I didn't expect to, but to cover my bias, I decided to read the Bible. Reaching over to my nightstand, I pulled out a translation that had sat there untouched for years. Flipping aimlessly through the pages, I read whatever passages my eyes landed upon. They didn't make sense, as usual. Leviticus had weird rules and Chronicles had endless pages of names. I was about to put the Bible away, convinced that God indeed was not real, and that was when I stopped to ask a question. Then suddenly I began to have illumination into what I was reading. Why? Why did all of this happen to me? If you were so loving, why did I get polio? Why have I had to struggle my whole life? How can you possibly be good? I thumbed through the Bible one last time looking for answers, and it fell upon the Gospel of John, and I began to read at John chapter 9. As he passed by, he saw a man blind from his birth, and his disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? But Jesus answered, it was not this man that sinned, or his parents, but that the works of God might be made manifest in him. Jesus' explanation was a little different than the disciples' question. They were focusing on the cause of the man's disability, while Jesus spoke to the purpose behind it. According to Jesus, it was not a punishment or even a random misfortune. It had been planned all along by God. Those words took my breath away. God was answering me. Arrogant, self-pitying, and angry me was being answered by the God of the universe. My suffering had a purpose, to bring glory to God. To some, those words may seem puzzling, maybe even disturbing, but when they are spoken to you by the God of the universe, those words change everything. It was the most amazing moment of my life. I'm never gonna forget it. But even now, as I remember that morning, it brings me to tears. Just as God opened the eyes of a blind man to bring glory to him, God was opening my eyes. For the first time, I could see him. I could sense his presence. I could understand that he was real. I closed my Bible and knelt down by the side of my bed. As the sun streamed into my room, I committed my life to a God that I did not even know, but I was certain that he knew me. He had created me for a purpose, to bring him glory, and all that I had endured in my life was to accomplish that end. God, who knew me and each of us before the foundation of the world, calls us uniquely, not based on anything that we have done, but based solely on his irresistible grace. This call often begins with him answering a simple prayer, not a theological or a learned one, but a sincere cry. So if you don't know Jesus, would you consider praying, God, if you are real, please show me, and then look around to see how He is answering you. Beloved, I want you to know and understand that God uses us to comfort one another with the comfort that we ourselves have received from God. It is both a privilege and a responsibility. And as we tell others of God's faithfulness in the midst of trials, it reminds us afresh that God will never forsake us. Though we may walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we will never walk alone. As I share this with you, I believe you may also be in a situation where you are questioning yourself if God is real or not. Perhaps there are so many issues going on in and around your life that you seem not to be finding answers to them. You might have prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed for years and months, and it looks like God is not even listening to you, not to talk of answering. But in all of this, there is a message that I want you to understand, that God is real. He is so real, and He is so closer to you than the breath in your nostrils. Many people ask if God is real or not. Does God exist? Is there evidence for God? What are the arguments for the existence of God? Is God alive or dead? Interestingly, the Bible makes no argument for the existence of God. Instead, the Bible assumes God's existence from the very first few words. In the beginning, God. The biblical writers did not feel a need, apparently, to offer arguments for the existence of God. To deny the existence of God is foolish, according to Psalm chapter 14 verse 1. Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 15 says, "It is He who made the earth by His power, who established the world by His wisdom, and by His understanding stretched out the heavens." David had a similar feeling when he was distressed, and so wrote in the words of Psalm chapter 13, "How long, O Lord, will you forget me? How long will you hide your face from me? How long shall I take counsel in my soul, having sorrow in my heart daily? How long will my enemies be exalted over me? Consider and hear me, O Lord my God. Enlighten my eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death. Lest my enemies say, I have prevailed against him. Lest those who trouble me rejoice when I am moved. But I have trusted in your mercy. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord, because He has dealt bountifully with me." Beloved, no matter what may be going on in and around your life right now, remember that God is real, and He is with you to reveal Himself in your life and over that situation in the appointed time. Therefore, stay encouraged and stay uplifted. God bless you.